So when you click on manage account, you will be enabling, or you will be going to the new UI that will show you the Databricks accounts. From here you can see Databricks accounts. You get a account console, and from here you can create a Metastore, and from that Metastore you can create a catalogs and then schemas and so on. But to get this UI, you need an administrative account. So what does it mean? So if I come to the document here, so it will show you the first point, that to configure a storage container in Azure manage identity, that Unity Catalog. Oh, just a minute. Yeah, so let me discuss on the first requirements. So you must be an Azure Databricks account admin. So the first Azure Databricks account admin must be an Azure Active Directory Global Administrator. So this is very important. So every organization has an Azure Active Directory admin. So he has to give us a permission, those who are managing your Databricks account console. So he will give us a permission called as an Azure Active Directory Global Administrator. So once he give this administration global administrator permission, then only you will able to access this account. Or if you do not get that privilege, if you click on this manage account, you will be redirecting to the same page again and again. So you should be a global admin to access the Databricks account. So what I'm trying to say, you need a global administrative account to manage your Databricks accounts. I mean Unity Catalog. So once you got that account, you come to your Azure Databricks and you can click on manage account. So once you click on your manage account, you will be getting a new UI, that is Databricks account, and this is your account console. So when I click on workspaces, you can see what are the workspaces in your Azure Databricks. You can see them all. In our case, we have only one workspace, that is Shell Databricks. If I click on data, you can see related Metastore on that. You can see it here. So when I click on user management, you can see all the details about the users, and there are some settings. Okay, so now you can see, now I'm back to my Azure Databricks. I have only one, you can call Metastore in that, or one catalog that is called as an Hive Metastore, and you have respective databases or the schemas of this Metastore. And this is a sample what Databricks gives us for a practice. So to view this, we should enable, or we should start the cluster, and you can see all that. Now I'm going back to my account console, and let us see what happens to this data explorer once I start creating a Metastore. So at the top level, let me show you. At the top level, you have a Metastore. Now I am creating a Metastore. It is like a container. At the top level, you have a Metastore. So I'm into account. Let me go to workspace. Sorry, let me go to this data view, and here you get an option called create Metastore. So let me click on create Metastore. So there are few things you need to assign before you create a Metastore. First is name. What name do you want? So I'll give a name called Metastore, or maybe Shell Metastore, Metastores. I'll write Metastores, and it is asking you for the region. So when you are creating, Metastore is applicable, or Metastore can be created only once per region. Suppose if you are creating in East US, maybe I have created one Metastore in the East US, so I am not able to create it again. So this region contains a Metastore. Only a single Metastore per region is allowed. So let me pick the second region, suppose East US, and but you need few things here. You need your ADLS Gen 2 path. That means wherever you are going to store, like you are creating different objects inside your inside your Metastore, like catalogs, then uh, databases or schemas, then objects. So where you want to store all this metadata? I want to store in a new container. So you can get a new container and give a name for that container here. and the second is your access connector ID. So you need these two things from your Azure account and proceed. So for that, let me go for ADLS Gen 2 path. So you need something like container name at the rate storage account name dbfs.core.windows.net, and if you have any specific path you can give a path also. So let me go back to my Azure account. So now it is up to you. Do you want to create a new storage account and keep all your data securely, all the metadata in the new container, or in the existing container also works, or existing storage account also works? So I am into the existing storage account, that is shell ADLS tech. So let me go to the containers here, and I have few containers. So let me create a new container, and I'll write a container name as Metastore. Let me click on create. So you will be getting a new container called as a Metastore. Inside that Metastore, I'll create one directory. I'll call metadata, and let me click on save. So I got a container name that is called as a Metastore, and inside that I'm taking a directory or a folder called as a metadata. I right click. I'll just look at the properties here. Yeah, I can see that. Let me go back, and in the Metastore container, I'll click here and view the container properties. I want a link from here. I can see I want a link here. So I'll just copy this, and come to my Databricks account, and I'll just paste that in a notepad to give me the correct format. Okay, so I'll paste it here. So what I want, this is my storage account name. So before that I want a container name. Actually this is my container name. So let me copy this, paste it here. Container name at the rate storage account name dot. So we have by default as a blob here. You need to change this to DFS, that is Gen 2, because ADLS takes DFS core.windows.net, and you need to give a path. Path is, in Metastore container we have created one directory called metadata, so you should give a name of that path as a metadata. So I'll copy it and I'll replace this to metadata. Now this is my link for my storage account ADLS Gen 2 path. So let me paste it here, and now you can see you got the correct access. Just in case if you try to remove this, you may get a invalid format of Gen 2. So let me undo it, and now you can see you got a correct path. Now you need an access connector ID, very important. So how to get the access connector ID? So you need to go to Azure account, and you need to type for access connectors. You can see access connector for Azure Databricks. If you remember, for creating a service principal, we have created an app registered. We have registered a new app, and we have given an access for that app by blob contributor. So in the same way, we are creating one access connector for Azure Databricks, and we need to give access for this connector. Like your ADLS Gen 2 should give access to this connector. It should say that okay, you give all the privileges like read, write, delete all the privileges for the storage account to this access connector. So we are using that ID, access connector ID, and we are pasting it here. So let me click on access connector for Databricks. I have already created one. So let me create a new one. Create. I'll be choosing a subscription, same resource group. I'll be maybe, let me take yeah, let me take NLY with my name, and it is asking you for the access connector for Azure Databricks name. So let me write uh, access connection. So let me give in this name access connection. I need this name, so let me just copy it and keep it somewhere here. The name of the connector is access connection for Databricks. Okay, so let me click on review and create. So it will run validation for a few seconds. Yeah, validation has passed. Let me click on create. Yeah, so we have deployed the resource. Let me click on the opening the resource, and you can see the name is access connection, and here you got a resource ID. So let me just go back, and you need a access connector that starts with subscriptions and something like that. So it starts with subscriptions and so on. So let me copy this, and if I paste it here, you can see it has been correct. And if I click on create, you may not able to like create a Metastore. The reason is your ADLS has not given a permission for this access connector. So you need to give an access control for this connector. So for that, let me go back to my container or the storage account, and then you go for the access control, and you need to assign a role. Can you please access all the privileges to the access connector? So you can just click on add a role assignment, and you can give a entire blob contributor. Let me write blob contributor. Yeah, you can see it allows for read, write, delete, access for everything for that access connectors. So once you click on it, it will ask you for the members. So let me select the members, and here it is, the name is, let me pick up this name, that is connection, access connection. Let me write it here, access connection, and you will be able to see the access connector for Azure Databricks. And once you select it, the member has been selected. Let me go and select it and click on review plus assign. Yeah, so it is adding the role assignment for your access contributor. Yeah, you can see contributor for. So once you have added the access control, you can just go back to your Databricks account. So I think we have selected the region, we have selected the ADLS path and your access connector ID. So now let me click on create here. Let me click on create. Now, once you creating a Metastore, you have two steps. Second step, it is asking you to assign the workspaces. So how many workspaces do you have in your Azure Databricks? All the workspaces can be listed here. But now we have only one workspace. Okay, it will ask you for to assign the workspace. So yeah. So in the second step, it is assigning to the workspace. So we have only one workspace named as a shell Databricks. So let me click on this and click on assign. So once you click on assign, it will check all the things here, like assigning the Metastore will update workspace to this Unity catalog. That means data can be governed and accessed, data access, identity managed, and everything. So let me click on enable. And now once you are clicked on enable, you get this congratulations message. It says that the Metastore shell Metastores has been created and so on. So you can click on sample notebook. It will redirect to the document, and you can pick the create and manage a Unity catalog table using a SQL or using Python. We will see that. Now let me come back. Let me close this. And in the Databricks account, you can see in the data view, you have one Metastore that has been assigned to our workspace. So to see the changes, let me come to my Databricks account here, and now you can see within fraction of seconds it took place. And now you can see one Metastore that is called as a shell Metastores has been created here. So we have created a top level container that is Metastore. Let me show you the image here. Oh, sorry, here. Yeah, so we have created a Metastore. Now in the Metastore, let me start creating a catalog. So how to create a catalog? You can come here, and let me click on the Metastore here. Yeah, let me click on this. Yeah, so here you get an option called create a catalog. So this is by UI. You can do it with the UI also. So let me click on the catalog. So it is asking you for the catalog name. So you can specify the catalog name, for example production. or prod, and it is asking you for the storage location. So if you want to store all your data outside, so you need to give a storage location. So how to specify this storage location? So let me do that. I'll just click on cancel, and here you got storage credentials, and then you have external location. So if I click on storage location credentials, let me create a credentials here. So when you are creating a credentials, again you got two options. One is by using a managed identity, and second is by using a service principal. We have done with the help of service principal, if you remember, but it is recommending, Azure Databricks is recommending for the managed identity. So it is asking you for the storage credential name. So let me write it for the shell storage. It is asking you for the access connector ID. So let me go back. Access connection ID is this one. Let me copy this and paste it here. Yeah, user access managed identity, it is optional, so let us keep it blank, and let me click on create. Yeah, so shell storage is a name for your storage credentials. Now let me come to the external location, and let me create a location. So it is asking you for the name, so let me write external, something like that, and it is asking me for the URL of my storage account. So if you remember, we have already stored this like in the container called Metastore, in the storage account name as shell ADLS DFS core windows.net, and the path is metadata. Just I need to add ABFS FSS. This is also optional, it will take by default, but just I'm giving it. Let me copy it and paste it here. So it is asking you for the storage credentials. I'll be picking on the storage credentials what I have created, like shell storage, and let me click on create. Overlaps with the, okay, let me write it here as external. Okay, and let me click on create. Path does not exist. Okay, let me go back, and let me go to my storage account here. In the storage account, I will create a new path inside my Metastore. I'll create a new directory here called as a external. Let me click on save. Yeah, so I'll be picking up the external. Let me check external. Yeah, it should work now. Let me click on create. Yeah, you can see external locations has been set up, storage credentials has been set up. Now let me go to the data view here and start creating a catalog. So I'll create a catalog name production, and for the external location the name is external. Let me click on this and click on create. So this is I am doing with the help of UI. This is with the help of UI. So let me refresh this. Yeah, you can see you got a, yeah, so I have created a catalog. You can see in catalog you have a default schema. By default you can create a schema inside that. And if you look at the permissions here in this catalog, if you look at the permissions, I have not granted any permissions yet, so you can just grant it. So you can just say you give all the privileges to the group or to a specific user. So we will talk about the assigning the grants and revoking just a minute. Before that, let me click on create a schema. So inside this prod I'm creating one more schema called as a test, and I am giving an external location that is external, and let me click on create. So let me quickly refresh this. Inside a prod you should get a test database. You can see test database or the schema. So once I click on this test, you will be able to get this UI, where again you will get the details about that schema. So where exactly the metadata is getting stored, what is the Metastore ID, and at what time who has created, at what time it is updated, and so on. But if you look at the tables, there is no objects yet. So let us create our first table within our own Metastore, within our own catalog and the schema. Till now we have just created a schemas and objects in that, but now we are into a new catalog, new database, and inside that a table. So let me click on create. Yeah, I'm doing all that within a UI, but can I do that in a notebook? Yes, we can do that in a notebook. We will do that. Once I create a table from here, I can do everything by using a UI. So let me click on create a new table. Oh, it is redirecting me towards the SQL warehouse. Oh, let me just go back again. Uh, Let me go to data view. In this prod catalog test database, let me click on add here. Let me click on add the data. Let me click on add the data. I'll just upload it. So this is also one way how you can create a table directly. So let me take an employee table. Let me click on OK. Yeah, once you have uploaded the CSV file, you can create a table with a UI also. So by default it is taking the Hive Metastore. You can click on it, and I want that in a catalog called as a prod. In that I want a database as a schema like test, and it is asking you the table name. So let me pick up the table name as employee table, and you can it is asking you for the whether do you want your first row to be headers. Yes, and you can just change the data type also, respective data types, whatever you want. But I think it is detected correctly, and your sample data is here. Now if I click on create, your table is registered inside a test schema inside a prod catalog. Let me click on create. Yes, I am doing this all in a UI. I can do in a notebook also. Yeah, once I click on table, you are getting an error saying that your Unity catalog is not enabled. Unity catalog is not enabled on this cluster. So this is a error we are getting when you are creating a table. So what do you mean by Unity catalog not enabled? So we'll keep this here only. I'll just open a workspace. Let me click on workspace, or let me click on a new tab. Yeah, let me go to the workspace, and if I start doing it, yeah, let me create a new notebook here, new notebook, and I'll write this as Unity Catalog. Let me click on create. Yeah, so now if I just try to create a table, or if I just write show catalogs, okay, let me change this to a SQL here, and if I write show catalog, and if I execute this, yeah, you're getting an error. Just, yeah, you are getting show catalog, so you're getting only Spark catalog. Or if I just say create table in prod catalog dot test database with an sample table. So if I run this, still you are getting a same error that your Unity catalog is not enabled on this cluster. So what does it mean? So for that, let me go back to my compute, and before that I would like to show the documentation. So if you click on shell cluster that is successfully running here, you can see here you got something called an access mode. So when you just do the access mode, when you look at the help here, you can see the single user and the shared, and there is no isolation shared. So if you look carefully, Unity catalog will Unity catalog will work only for single user and for the shared. It doesn't work for no isolation shared. So we have in the no isolation shared, that is the reason why you cannot create a tables or you cannot register anything inside your database with the no isolation shared cluster. So look at this document here. When you are working on Unity Catalog, your access mode for that cluster should be either single user or it should be a shared. It should have a premium plan, obviously it should be yes. So if you're working on a no isolation shared, you get a or you do not get a support for Unity Catalog. So that's the reason why we are getting an error here. It is saying that Unity Catalog is not enabled on this cluster. So what you need to do is you need to go and edit the cluster settings access mode, or you can create a new cluster that is called uh, with a shared or a single user. So I have created a new cluster with a single user. So let me click on start for this cluster and let us create a table by using this cluster as an access mode as a single user. I've started a cluster which is having the access mode as a single user. So single user, you can access, or it has a support for the Unity Catalog. You can see that. So let me come back for creating a table. I have everything set up now. I just need to change the cluster here from the shell cluster. Let me select the my cluster here, and now let me start creating a table. So let me click on create table. Let us see that your table is being registered or not. Yeah, you can see guys, we have successfully created one table called as an employee table in the uh, prod catalog in the test database. Okay, so you can see the sample data. We have created this delta table by using a CSV, by using an upload the file here. So you can see details here. The metadata is stored in this location as an external location what we have created here, and I haven't set any permissions still here. So I hope no one can see the tables and all those things. If you look at the history and if you look at the history here, this is what we have already seen in detail. It is creating a versions. First version is creating a table, second version is copy into command. We have copied the table. Lineage, yeah, we will talk about this lineage, like how the table exactly looks in a lineage, like upstream and downstream. And we got something a new and a latest feature that is called insights, but now I don't think we can see it anything on this. Yeah, this is how we have created a table. Now let us do that by UI. Can I do that with the UI? So let me just go back to my workspace, and I have created a new notebook that is Unity Catalog. Let me click on this. Okay, so let me now start using this command like create table in the prod catalog test schema or database. I'm creating a sample table. So let me run this. Oh yeah, because it is not executing, we are getting an error because we are still in the same cluster. We need to change the cluster here. Let me click on change. So your cluster has been changed now, and let me select run this. So it is running successful now and you are getting an okay here. So what does it mean? So you are creating a new table from the notebook. If you go back to your data explorer, you may see a sample table, and if you look at the sample data, we do not have anything in that. If you look at the details, it is obviously a managed table and you can see all that. So If I just go back to my Azure Data Lake or ADLS, let us see what is happening here in the containers. So if I click on external, I may get a metadata of all that here in the Unity storage schemas. You have that schema registered here and the tables in that. So this might be your first table, that is a sample table. Oh, just a minute. Yeah, and you have the second table that is registered in this, that is your employee table, and you can see one part file and respective delta logs here. So let me give the permissions and all the privileges for this prod catalog. So let me click on this, and here you got a permission. Let me click on permission and click on permission for this prod. Let me click on grant. So let me click on all privileges. Like you can use a catalog, you can use the schema, and you can do selecting, modifying, executing, creating a new schema, creating a table. You can create an objects inside the table and all the privileges. So I'm adding a group, or you can add a specific user. So I am just clicking on account user so that I can give an access for entire group. Okay, so now let me click on grant, and you can see I have given all the privileges for the catalog object. What does it mean? So if I'm giving a privilege for catalog, obviously if you look at all this like metastores, catalogs, if I give a permission for this catalog, all respective schemas and tables within that catalog can be automatically assigned. So let me go back and show you. So yeah, I have given the access all the privileges for this catalog by default. If I go to the schema and if I go to the permission, all the privileges as given to the test schema. If you go to table and if you look at the permission, all the privileges is given to respective table. So by default, if you give a catalog permissions, whatever permissions you are giving this for catalog, all it can work for the schemas and the objects in the downstream. Unity Catalog quick start by SQL, and by using a Python also you can do. So let me just show you. Yeah, we are following a 3-level namespace, that is catalog name, schema name, and the table name. So if you want to create a new catalog, you can just create it by using a new create a new catalog. So similar to like how we do for database or the schemas, like we just write create schema name. So similarly we can create a catalog here. uh, you find this notebook in our document, or I'll be giving you the link for this. Create catalog if not exist catalog name, and similar like how we say use schema name, similarly we write use catalog and it will start using that catalog. So if you run show catalogs, it will show you all the catalogs in the Metastore. And after you create a catalog, you can start creating like you can grant a permissions, like grant create schema, create table, create view, use the catalog on the catalog the name to the specific users or the group of users. You can do this with the UI also, you can do this with the SQL code also. You can just write show grants on the catalog. We have done that by using a permissions tab here and by using a grant, and we have done all that. Okay. So if you want to start creating a schema, already we have said that use the catalog. So whatever schemas we have creating, that will be registered inside this quick start catalog. So if you just scroll down, and here you can see it will create a schema with a comment, and if you write show schemas, it will show you all the schemas under that specific catalogs. You can use a describe the schema extended, which shows you the details about that schema. Then you can start creating a manage table. Then you can use a specific keyword like use this particular schema, that is what we have created, and then creating a table, simple quick start table. So we are creating a quick start catalog, quick start schema, then inside that a quick start table, and then we have a partition by that column A, inserting one or two values. Then you can see what are the tables in that and what are the describe the table extended. You can see the details about that table. Then when you are writing a select, If you're working on different schemas, different tables, you can follow the three level namespace, that is catalog name, schema name, and then the table name. You can write in this way also to avoid writing the catalog name again and again. So you can just say use this catalog, then you can avoid that. Or even you can write these two things like use this catalog, use this schema, and just you can do it in a simple database, how we just write select star from the table name. We have discussed all the details about the managed table, external table, all those things. And to give a permissions, these are all the things we will see in that. How to do that by using a like SQL code, how to grant the privileges and how to revoke that. Okay, so we have created a prod catalog by using a UI, but let me do that by using a notebook. So I'm just saying create a catalog. If not exist, name of the catalog is quick start catalog. Yeah, I want everyone to please be on this notebook. I can see a new catalog with a name called as a quick start catalog. Let me come back to the data UI, and wow, you can see a catalog has been generated here. And let me come back, and you can just write a new like command like use this catalog. You can write show catalogs. Yeah, you can see all the catalogs present here. So we have created a new catalog called the quick start catalog. Let me go back and let me write create a schema. If not exist, let me click on create schema, and you can see the schema has been created in this as a quick start schema. And now if I click on the catalog, if I look at the permissions, there are no permissions granted yet, so it means that you cannot see the catalog as a quick start catalog now. So let me grant a permissions for you. So let me click on grant, let me click on all the account users, and what privileges do you want me to give. So let me give all privileges. Depending on the use case, you can change that. Let me click on grant, and it's done. Now if you refresh it, you may able to see all the privileges. Like you can see the schema, you can see all that things. Okay, so now let me use show schemas, and you can see the schemas present in that. And if I just show like show the grant on the catalog, and you can see like all the users have the all privileges on the catalog. So if it has all the privileges for the catalog, it means that respective downstreams like all the schemas tables do have the permissions. So let me use describe schema extended, and you can see the comment on that, what catalog name is, what is the schema name, and the comment, and so on. So let me create one table, manage table within that quick start schema with a name called as a quick start table, and so on. Let me run this, and a table is getting registered with few records. Yeah, I think it has done. Yeah, so you can see two rows got affected. You can look the table at the data view, go to the data view in the quick start schema. You can see a quick start table, you can see the column names, sample data in that columns, the details about that. It is a delta table, it is a managed table, and so on. If you look at the permission, by default it will have all the privileges as we have given for the catalog. So let me write show tables. You may see only one table within the database called as a quick start schema. We were getting only one by default database in a Hive Metastore, but now with the help of this Unity catalog you can achieve all that. So you can query it by using three level namespace, catalog name, schema name, table name. If you want to avoid it, you can just say use the particular catalog, use the particular schema, and select star from your table. It will give you the same result. I hope you understood about how the Unity catalog helps us to create different catalogs and register different schemas. Also, look at the metadata stored external in the ADLS Gen 2. Let me show you in the schemas, or maybe in the Metastore as a Unity storage schemas. Oh, so here all the metadata are getting stored here. can see metadata tables, and your column 1, it is partitioned. So if you remember, we have created a table with the help of partition by the column A. So it has registered, or it has created column A one part file, column B one second part file. Metadata, you can see this delta logs, respective delta logs for that table. So we have created without giving any location. If you remember, we have created without any giving any location, so by default it is taking the metadata. But when we created a prod catalog, we have given a specific location, that is external, a name as external, so all the metadata is getting stored in this external. So what I trying to say, if you go back to your data explorer, and if you click on this data, and if you click on create a catalog, if you do not specify any location, by default it will pick up the Metastore metadata folder. But if you specify a location here, if you specify a location, for example a new location, external, something like that, it will pick up that directory and store all the metadata there. Thank you guys, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial or enjoyed this video. If you like it, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with your friends. Keep learning.